Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening to you all. I am Archit Ambekar from Seed Global Education, and I am going to be your host today. Welcome to this session in partnership with the University of Illinois, Chicago. I can see that many attendees have started to join in. For those of you who are already here, if you could quickly post in the chat which city are you dialing in from. If you can quickly post in the chat which city are you dialing in from. Okay, I can see that people are joining in from all around of India. We have Agra, Lucknow, New Delhi, Hubli, Nasik. We have Nagpur, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ghaziabad. We have somebody from Nepal also, somebody from Kolkata, Vadodara, Pune, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, West Bengal, Lonavala. Okay, that's great. Welcome, everyone. Good evening to you all again. Welcome again to today's webinar hosted by University of Illinois, Chicago. Today's masterclass is on generative AI. What is it and why it matters? I'm going to quickly introduce you all to Seed. Then I'm going to introduce the school, and then I'm going to introduce the speakers, and then we will begin the session. A little bit about Seed. We're a UK headquartered company that facilitates connections between leading global universities and prospective students like yourselves. Our mission is to connect aspiring students like you with faculty and admissions team from top universities, allowing you to explore the programs they offer and make informed decisions about your higher education or career goals. A little bit about UIC Business. It is a part of the University of Illinois, Chicago, which is a top-ranked research-driven business school with a global reputation for excellence. From its humble beginnings offering accounting, economics, and general business programs, UIC Business evolved into a dynamic institution serving over 3,700 undergraduate and 1,000 graduate students annually. It's situated in the heart of Chicago, and it thrives in a vibrant urban setting, reflecting the city's hardworking, resourceful ethos. With a global perspective, diverse student body, and close to 52,000 plus alumni, the college continues to make a lasting impact, empowering the next generation of business leaders to excel in a rapidly changing world. Before we dive in, let me quickly introduce you to the speakers today. Our first speaker is Professor Yuhing Hu. He's the Associate Professor of Information Systems and Business Analytics at University of Illinois, Chicago. His research explores social and civic informatics, digital platforms, and human AI interactions using machine learning and econometrics. His work has been published in top journals and conferences, earning multiple Best Paper awards. Supported by grants from the Marketing Science Institute, NVIDIA, and Amazon, his research has also been featured in major media outlets like The Wired and The Verge. He also holds a PhD from Arizona State University and has conducted a research at Microsoft Research and Avaya Labs. Welcome to this information session, Professor Hu. Our next speaker is Jeff Jewett. He is the Assistant Dean for Business Recruitment at University of Illinois, Chicago. He is an accomplished higher education professional with extensive experience in graduate business education. He's currently serving as the Assistant Dean for Graduate Business Programs at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and he oversees this graduate student services for the College of Business, driving enrollment growth, enhancing student experiences, and fostering academic excellence. Welcome to this session, Jeff. Before I hand it over to Professor Hume, I would like to quickly launch the first poll, which is going to be right on your screens. Now, I want you to take a minute and tell me, what do you think is the biggest impact of generative AI? Is it increased efficiency and automation? Is it creativity and content generation? Is it ethical and privacy concerns? Is it job displacement and workforce disruptions? We'll give it about 30 more seconds for all of you who have joined to answer this question that is right on your screen. I can see that a lot of you are already inclined to the first option, which is increased efficiency and automation. 20 more seconds before we end the poll. Okay, I can see that number one is getting the most number of votes. Okay. With that, I am going to end the poll and share the results on your screen. It's clear that the biggest impact of generative AI is going to be increased efficiency and automation. And the lowest, of course, is ethical and privacy concerns. With that, I'm now going to hand it over to Professor Hu. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you. Let me share my slides again. All right. Can you guys see it?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be here to talk about generative AI, which has been my research and teaching interest for the past few years. So today the topic is generative AI, what is it and why it matters. So let's start with an example. I think everybody knows this, ChatGPT. Since it was released in the December of 2022, ChatGPT has revolutionized how we think, how we communicate, and how we engage with others. And it completely starts the new frenzy of large language models and its related business models. So what is ChatGPT? So ChatGPT was released by OpenAI, and it is a computational model that responds to dialogue commands. I think everybody is very familiar with this interface, a very simple interface that you can type a very long text, also known as a prompt, in the ChatGPT's window, and then starts the engagement. So basically, you can pose a question to ChatGPT in terms of text. And now you can also do it in the image. But let's say that you format your prompt in terms of a text with multiple sentences. Let's say you file a request like the one that's shown here, like write full paragraph academic essays. And then the ChatGPT will respond to you by generating paragraphs which is related to your questions as much as possible. And we use this for generating answers. We use ChatGPT to generate the code. We use ChatGPT to create something that we had not think about it. And sometimes, we may get unexpected answers. Sometimes the answers will basically wow us. So, ChatGPT has revolutionized how we communicate. And one underlying question is, well, it seems like ChatGPT can write essays, explain ideas, summarize text documents, and even translate them. How can it be able to do this? So what are the principles that govern this technology? What is the algorithms or what's the technologies behind this simple interface on GPTs? Can we replicate it? Can we extend it? So those are the questions that academia and industry has been exploring since 2022. And there are many, many answers that we have seen so far. For example, there are open source large language models. For example, Facebook has the Llama model, and the DeepSeek AI from China also has this DeepSeek bot, which is highly effective. And then meanwhile, when you use ChatGPT, sometimes you will also encounter situations like this, right? Like say what would be the gender of the first female president. So those very simple, silly questions, right? And then the ChatGPT may get it wrong. For example, in this case, ChatGPT responded by saying Hillary Clinton served as the 45th president from 2017 to 2021, which is totally incorrect, right? On the other hand, this user asked, was Lincoln's assassin on the same continent as Lincoln when the assassination occurred? Right? You may sound, this question sounds very silly, but then the ChatGPT has responded, and its response is totally wrong again. So the question now becomes, well, the model, the ChatGPT model is extremely good at super important tasks, such as text generations, such as code generations, right? But in the same time, it is also easily fails at seemingly trivial tasks. Why is that? Okay, and those are people call the hallucination problems of large language models, right? And to solve those problems, why LLM or large language models hallucinate, this has also become a very hot research areas. So as you can see right now in the industry and also in the academia, at the one hand, people are trying to improve the models. On the other hand, people also trying to explain the models, trying to make sense the model's output, and trying to mitigate those errors that made by those models. ChatGPT is a perfect example of generative AI, but generative AI can do more than just text. For example, today, the generative AI can also generate images. That's why many people claim that the generative models are the predictive models of the world. They have the sense of our world. They have the so-called world knowledge. For example, here in these examples, you can give a text prompt, and the ChatGPT or the related model called DALL-E basically can understand the text and generate the image correspondingly. For example, the text is, I want to generate an armchair in the shape of an avocado. So it will generate, these pictures. But again, similar to the text generation, the image generation are not perfect. For example, here, in this next example, I want to generate a storefront that has the word OpenAI written on it. But if you look at the generated image, the quality of the image sometimes varies. For example, the first image, the quality is not very high. And also compared to the last image. And also if you look at the third image, you can see the letter I, is quite different. It shapes like a letter J. Right? So there are problems with the current technologies, and then people are still improving it. And in addition to the text and images, people also use generative models to generate code. For example, this is the OpenAI's code generation engine called Codex, which can generate code. And this has been a trend in especially the software engineering industry. So I just read an interview of the Acceleratrix, which is also a generative AI startup. I just read an interview by the Acceleratrix CEO, Dario. Basically, what he claims that in the 3 to 5 months, machine or the generative AI engines will generate about 60% of the code at his company. And within a year, he expects this generative AI code generation engine can generate 100% of the code. So, this has a lot of implications that can affect the workforce, can affect the creativities, and also productivities, as also indicated in the very first poll, right? And in addition to the code, text, and image, GenAI has also been used to generate videos, and also like this. For example, giving a text prompt, you can generate a short video about it. And so in the future, everybody can become a director. You can just give a short text description, or if you have a script, you can give a very detailed script, and these AI algorithms can generate videos correspondingly. On the other hand, people also use Gen AI to guess. For example, in this case, people are trained generative AI models to complete the partial samples from the world. Say I have an image, and partially it is covered by something. And then after we feed this image, this partial image to the model, and ask the model to complete the image. And after the model seeing so many images, it will try to complete the image by saying, oh, this is the number 2. It's a handwriting of the number 2. On the other hand, so this example, the model is trained to predict the next words or the next several words, right? Here, the wins over Kansas is masked. And then we can train a Gen AI model to predict what will come next. For example, Wins Over Kansas is an aviation website founded in 1998 by Carl Chance, owned by Chance Communication, and so on. Right? And I can go on and on and on and on. There are so many examples of Gen AI. For example, if you use emails, these days emails has also this auto-completion sentence, auto-completion functions, trying to complete your sentences by guessing what you're gonna say. And the machine translations models has all been replaced by the Gen AI models these days. And if you use smart speakers like Siri's, like Alexa's, you can communicate with the smart speaker. So smart speaker will try to understand your voice, trying to guess what you want to say, and to respond to you in a very meaningful ways. Right? So all I want to say is that Gen AI techniques has been everywhere, and it is popularized by the release of ChatGPT. So there are a lot of Gen AI techniques even exist long before ChatGPT was invented, but they become extremely popular thanks to the effectiveness of ChatGPTs, the revolution brought by the ChatGPTs starting from 2020 and early 2023. So if we look at the technologies, why we are here, right? So in order to understand the Gen AI, we have to look back into the history of machine learning and AI to see what is going on even before Gen AI was invented. So in AI, especially in the machine learning domains, there are two types of kind of AI, two types of machine learning techniques. One is called the generation AI or generative AI. The other is called discriminative AI, right? So I want to show this simple example to see what are these two types of AI techniques. Let's say that I want to generate an image with a computer, and I give a high level in descriptions. Let's say I want to generate a cube, and its color is blue, and its position is XYZ, and the size is say 10 inches. Meanwhile, I want to generate a cylinder, and the color is red, the position is X prime, Y prime, Z prime, and size is maybe 20 inches. So following my description, those are very high level descriptions, my machine can generate images based on my descriptions or the attributes that I entered. So this is called the generation process, right? Generation process. So you give descriptions and you generate the object based on your descriptions. But there is also a reverse process, which is called discriminative learning or called inference. Basically, what they are trying to do is they are seeing the object. Let's say, oh, I'm seeing a blue cube and I'm seeing a red cylinder. I'm trying to guess the attributes. To humans, this is very easy. Oh, I'm seeing a blue cube and a red cylinder. But for machines, the machine has no eyes, has no visions. Machine has to learn and then try to guess what is going on with these objects. So this is called the inference problems, which is the reverse of this generation problems. And then if we put it into a probabilistic view, on the left side is the descriptive learning. For example, my task is given a bunch of images. I want to classify which one are bedrooms, which images are about dining rooms, right? So, again, to human eyes, because we have visions, we can easily tell, okay, so these two pictures are about the dining rooms, and then these two pictures are about the bedrooms, okay? And but again, for machines to learn this, it needs trainings. It needs to see a lot of pictures to have an understanding of what the bedroom looks like, what a dining room looks like. So technically speaking, given an image X, our goal for the descriptive learning is to learn a decision boundary here by guessing this probability, Py equals to bedroom, given X equals to this image. We want to guess this probability. And there are a lot of models to do this. For example, logistic regressions, convolutional neural nets, and so on. But on the other hand, for the discriminative learnings, what we want to do is after observing so many pairs of bedroom and the images about the bedrooms, then the model will develop a sense of what bedroom should look like, what a dining room should look like. And then, without given an input X, the models will learn, technically speaking, a joint distribution over both the Y's and the X. Y being the labels and X being the images. And then from that joint distribution, we can then estimate, okay, what is the probability of Px equals to a bedroom image or a dining room image given Y equals to bedrooms. So this is the generative model. So as again, you can see, this is totally opposite of the descriptive learning. Now the interesting question is, how did we get here, right? AI has been around for so many years. Why we have the breakthroughs only in the recent years? Well, a lot of advances in ChatGPTs or generative AI in general are due to neural networks. And the neural networks actually are not a new thing. It was invented in 1940s, so over 80 years ago, by people from medicine and psychology. So what they do is that they want to build a mathematical model to model human minds, how human reasoning, how human thinks, right? And why we only see the breakthroughs lately? Well, there are three forces that come together. Okay, the first one is that right now we have massive amount of data thanks to the internet and the social media. Okay, so in order to fully utilize the power of neural nets, we need to train the neural nets to see a lot of data. But unfortunately, before the internet, we don't have too many data that we can feed to the neural nets. Or even before the popularity of social media, we don't have enough data to feed the neural nets to fully unleash its power. All right, so that's the first number one, massive amount of data. The first number two is now we have the computing power. We now have the fast processors for deep learnings. Okay, before that, we use CPUs, to train neural nets, which are very, very slow. And later, people find that the GPUs, the graph processing unit, are very good at training neural nets. And they develop powerful GPUs, over the years to drive that process. One perfect example is NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA has is one of the biggest players in the GPU market, and it released so many GPUs to power the large language models, to power deep learnings, and so on. So it is no wonder the stock market price for NVIDIA rises so much over the past 5 years, and it became the best performance market, best stock in terms of its performance in the past 5 years. And thanks to this computing power, right now we can process things at amazing speed, right? So this basically just shows the progresses of the GPUs made over the years. As you can see, the throughput of the GPUs, how many computings it can make per second, jumps from 7 flops to 11 flops, so which is huge. And the other interesting thing about computing power is right now we also have very powerful distributed training architecture or framework. So previously, in order to train a neural nets, mostly people just train the neural nets within one computer. Right now, we can distribute the training process into millions of computers so that those machines can work in a distributed and parallel fashions. Okay, and this just makes things much, much faster. So imagine you have one job, right? And you assign this job to one worker to do it. And now imagine you split this job and you let 3 workers to do it in parallel, right? Obviously, you will save 2/3 of the time. Okay, so that's force number 2. You now have the hardware and the software to support the scaling of neural nets. Now you have the force number 3, which is people often also developed better algorithms, faster algorithms to learn the neural nets from the data. So not only the innovation comes from the hardware side, but also the innovation comes from the software side. So we have right now, for example, algorithms like Adam to do a very quick optimization to learn the neural nets. We also have architecture like transformer model, which is the backbone of the large language models like ChatGPTs, like Cloud, like DeepSeek, right? So all of them are driven by the transformer architecture, which is considered as a major algorithmic breakthroughs in the past 10 years. So now we have better algorithms also. So all these 3 forces combining together, okay, becomes the tailwind for neural nets, right? So I want to also talk about some terminologies. Although we talked about a lot of generative AI models, we have seen many examples of generative AI. But sometimes if you look at the media, right, look at the news, you will find those names that many times they are used interchangeably, like self-supervised models, pre-trained models, foundational models, generative AI models. Well, many of them share similarities, but they are not exactly the same. For example, self-supervised models, which are the machine learning models trained on unlabeled data by creating their own labels directly from the data itself. And unlike the traditional supervised models, self-supervised models rely on explicit human labeled dataset. And then the model uses inherent structures and patterns within the data to define the tasks that guides the learning. Okay. One perfect example for self-supervised model are the GPT models that they use the inherent structure of the text of the training data by avoiding the very expensive human labeling process. There are also pre-trained models, which are the machine learning models that has been previously trained on large data sets, typically in a general context, and can be adapted to perform specific tasks. The GPT models are considered the pre-trained models, and there are and also BERT models are considered pre-trained models. And many people they just fine-tune those models to perform so-called downstream tasks. For example, you train the GPT models on a general text, and then you fine-tune these GPT models on financial text, so that the GPT models can be very good at solving financial related tasks. And then there's Gen AI models, right? These are the machine learning models designed to create or generate new data, similar to the existing data set. And unlike the traditional AI models like classifier, like SVM, that typically classify or predict labels, Gen AI models produces novel outputs that resemble the input distribution. And examples including the GPTs, the GANs models, the generative adversarial models, and the diffusion models, the models that can generate content. And then finally, we have the foundation models, which are the large-scale general purpose of AI models trained on massive datasets, typically using self-supervised or semi-supervised methods. And they provide foundational knowledge and can be effectively fine-tuned and adapt from a wide range of downstream tasks. Okay. And if you put it into a pie chart, so this is what it looks like. So on top, we have the machine learning. And the deep learning, as many of you may already know, is a part of the machine learning. And then within the deep learnings, we have self-supervised models, and we have generative AI models, which can overlap with the large language models. Right? Not all the large language models are a part of generative AI models. Okay, and some large language models, like mostly traditional large language models, are not generative at all. Okay, so what is the current state of Gen AI models, right? Every day the performance is improving with more training data and larger models, right? And so this is basically just showing you how the scale of the model evolves over time. As you can see right now, we are the state-of-the-art models. They all have hundreds of billions of parameters or trillions of parameters. For example, GPT 4.5 has trillions of parameters, right? And the Aerobics cloud models have billions of parameters. That's why it was so shocking that when DeepSeek was released, it is much smaller models, yet it is as effective as the ChatGPT models or the cloud models, right? So there's a lot of competitions in terms of these Gen AI models these days, and all of them are coming from the big players, for example, from Facebook, from OpenAI, or from Google. So why Gen AI matters? We have talked about, there are a lot of innovations in the tech space, all right? A lot of breakthroughs in the algorithms, in the hardwares, and in the data. And we are using Gen AI every day. And it seems like very, very useful. But the underlying question, the more fundamental question is Gen AI very useful for other areas, like for business? Well, actually, the CMOs find that Gen AI do have a very, very exciting, very promising future, and can affect all areas in our daily lives. For example, the most applications for Gen AI is content creations and optimization, which aligns very well with the survey result, with the polling results early on, right? You guys also mentioned that Gen AI can improve the productivity, efficiency, and content creations. right? Gen AI can also have a huge impact on personalizations, customer segmentations, and so on. So this aligns very nicely with the pool. Right? And also, there are a lot of studies on the economic impact of Gen AIs. For example, Gen AI performance expected to match the median human performance in next 3 to 5 years. And Gen AI can also add trillions of dollars in value to the global economy. But then, in the meanwhile, they also will have a huge impact on the workforce. All right, and you have to adapt. Otherwise, uh, you know, Gen AI can, uh, destroy certain jobs. And Gen AI is not just a very fancy tech toys. It has been used in a wide range of industries such as banking, pharmaceutical, manufacturing, healthcare, insurance, and so on. Right? And there are a lot of use cases beyond the text generations, image generations, and so on. For example, customer service bots these days are powered by large language models, uh, right? And the personalizations and recommendations these days are also powered by large language models or Gen AI in general, right? And in the finance and banking industry, uh, they are also widely used. For example, people have used the Gen AI to develop ESG virtual assistant. People also use Gen AI to write the analysis reports, right? And to analyze what is going on in certain areas, right? And Gen AI is also widely used in pharmaceutical and life sciences. So there is a huge trend called AI for science, especially here in US. It's trying to use AI to advance the development of science. Let's say in medicine, in chemistry, in physics. Like the people use Gen AI to generate candidate molecules and accelerate the drug discovery process, which in general takes a very long time, like 10 to 15 years to develop a new drug. Right now, with the help of Gen AI, that process will be much, much faster. But as I mentioned in the very first slides, the power of Gen AI also comes with risks and concerns. As you have already seen, there's hallucination problems. And in addition to that, there's also biases problems. So the other people have been working on trying to make sure that the output from Gen AI is fair and ethical. And Gen AI is also widely used in generating fake informations. Tools like deepfakes, you can see it everywhere. So how do we combat the misinformation through user educations, ethical guidelines, and also more advanced detection technologies? That is also one of the hottest research areas. And Gen AI also has a huge implication on job displacement. Therefore, people, humans, requires rescalings to adapt this AI-driven world. But overall, it is a very exciting areas, and both from the technology perspective and from the business perspectives. And meanwhile, we need to pay attention to not just the opportunities, but also the related risks. So with that, I'll end my presentations. And in case you have any questions, you can visit my website or also send me emails. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Hu, for such an insightful presentation. Before I hand it over to Jeff, I would like to launch my second poll, which is going to be on your screens right now. Which factor plays the most important role in your choice of B school? Is it rankings? Is it funding scholarship opportunities? Is it the faculty and curriculum? Is it the location, or is it the career development support? If you all can take about a minute to answer this question, it would be great. Which factor plays the most important role in your choice of B school? Rankings, funding, faculty, location, careers. You can see a lot of them are leaning towards funding and scholarship. And then we have a clear winner of careers as well. Another 10 seconds and we will end the poll. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share the results on your screen. Clearly, I think we have a winner, which is career development, and then it's followed by funding opportunities. And then the remaining options are respectively faculty, location, and rankings. With that, I am going to now hand it over to Jeff, who's going to walk you through everything that UIC Business has to offer you all. Over to you, Jeff.
Great, thank you. And can everyone see my slide? The slides okay?
Yes, Jeff, we can see the slides.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Professor Hugh, for giving us a really informative webinar on generative AI. It was great to learn that neural networks were actually developed at our sister campus, Urbana-Champaign. So great to see that U of I system connection. And just as a brief overview, I want to talk a little bit about our different graduate programs and also steps for applying to our programs. I always like to start with this picture because it shows us where UIC is located. We are located right in the heart of the city. That black building behind you is the Sears, or we still call it the Sears Tower. It's now called the Willis Tower, but everyone from Chicago still refers to it as Sears Tower. And it was the tallest building in the world up until the about mid-1990s, and it's about a little over a kilometer away from campus. United Airlines is headquartered there, and around there is a lot of financial and tech companies that also have headquarters or a large presence in the Chicago region. So that really says a lot about our location, is that you can interview for jobs at some of the top companies in the world just a short distance away from campus. Some things that set UIC apart is our high return on investment as well. We are a state-supported institution, which means our tuition and fees are typically lower than other universities in the US. In addition, I talked a little bit about location, and with all of our programs, there's a great deal of flexibility. With our MBA, you can specialize in typically one of 4 different areas, and then with any of our master's programs, typically about half of the classes are required, and then you will have 3 to 5 required electives as well too. So there's a great deal of customization with our programs. And as we mentioned before, a large number of our alums stay in the Chicago region, and we are considered a Carnegie One research institution. There are only 6 in the state of Illinois, including our sister campus at Urbana. And it means that we are engaged in the highest level of research productivity possible for an institution in the US. We also focus a lot on soft skills. With any of our degree programs, you will get great hard skills and quantitative reasoning, but we also realize that soft skills are important for your job search, presentation skills, and so there's different ways to enhance your soft skills with our iLead courses, and something I definitely recommend. It's an elective that you can take in any of our different degree programs and really enhances your soft skills. In terms of rankings, we are really proud of where we rank as an institution. A number of our programs are ranked by QS World University Rankings, and our MBA program is ranked by US News and World Report. In addition, we are consistently ranked as one of the most diverse campuses in the US as well, too. In terms of degree programs that we offer an MBA and 6 specialized master's programs. 5 out of those 6 master's programs are STEM designated, and we offer programs in accounting, business analytics, finance, management information systems, marketing, and supply chain. And with each of our master's of science programs, You can come in with no work experience, and typically most individuals coming into our programs have anywhere from 0 to 3 years of work experience and can typically be completed in about 3 semesters on a full-time basis. And the STEM designated programs, which is important for our international audience, are in accounting, business analytics, finance, management information systems, and supply chain and operations management. This means that upon graduation, you can receive up to 3 years of OPT, and that's beyond the normal 1 year that you would get with either our MBA or MS in marketing program. So in regards to our flexible MBA program, this can be done on a full-time basis, typically anywhere from 1 to 2 years of completion time, depending on how many classes you take in a given semester. We do usually like to see 2 years of full-time work experience, but that can be waived for someone that has strong academic background or any internship or work experience as well too. In addition, our MBA has a very robust core curriculum. So you'll take your typical courses that you would see in marketing, finance, and accounting, and then you can concentrate in such areas as business analytics, finance, human resources management, or marketing. We also offer joint degrees with our MBA and some of our specialized master's programs. This means that you can earn 2 degrees at the same time, and you will actually share credits between those 2 programs, which means you can complete them in a shorter amount of time and at a lower cost as well too. So if you're undecided or want to get knowledge from 2 different areas, you can say, for instance, get an MBA with an MS in business analytics as well too, and have 2 really robust degrees upon graduation. And I realize there's a lot of information to share in a short amount of time. So if there's one takeaway that I can recommend for you today, it's to check out our Business Connect website and go look and explore more about our degree offerings. You'll see what the requirements are for each respective degree. What are some potential electives that you could take? So go to businessconnect.uic.edu after today's presentation and learn more about our different degree offerings. It's a really useful tool and encourage you to check that out. There's also ways to get involved outside of the classroom as well too. So we have a number of business student organizations that you can get involved with, and this really helps with networking and job placement opportunities as well too. Really recommend getting involved from day one on campus. It's a great way to connect with your classmates and also industry professionals. I know career placement was the most important part of the poll question, and we do have a dedicated business career center as well that will help with networking, building a robust LinkedIn page, and developing a strong resume as well too, and helping you with job search strategies, whether that be with mock interviews or any of the number of companies that we have come on campus. We have over 200 employers that recruit on campus at UIC. And this is a sampling of some of the companies that hire UIC graduates. It's really a who's who of companies in the US. All of the big 4 firms are represented, along with a large number of financial and tech firms as well too. In terms of applying, our application is online and open for the fall 2025 semester. There is a $70 application fee along with a $100 international credential evaluation fee. Just as a heads up, we do not accept outside credential evaluations such as WES. We do require our own internal credential evaluation. We also require 2 short application essays, your resume. We ask that you keep it under 2 pages, transcripts or mark sheets, and then TOEFL or IELTS for international applicants. And then if you are applying to the MBA program, a brief Zoom interview is required as well. We are considering application fee waivers for attendees for today, and I will send a follow-up email after today with how you can get in touch with me. But what we'll ask is that you submit your resume, program of interest, your TOEFL or IELTS scores, transcripts, and GMAT or GRE scores if you've taken those. I will review those and then let you know if you've been approved for an application in international credential evaluation fee. So it's done on a case-by-case basis, and we do have a limited number, but if you have a strong profile, you can be considered for an application fee waiver. Our programs also require letters of recommendation. The MS in marketing only requires one, and all other programs require two, and those can be either professional or academic. And you will contact your recommenders through the application portal when you start your application. All of our programs have GMAT or GRE waivers as well too. For the MBA and the MS in marketing, they are fully test optional. And for our other programs, you will submit a waiver request to see if you've been granted a GMAT or GRE waiver. And in terms of tuition and fees, tuition is approximately $21,000 a semester for international students. And as I shared earlier, most of our programs can be completed in 3 semesters. The MBA, most students will complete in about 4 semesters. So you're looking usually anywhere from $60,000 to roughly a little over $80,000 in tuition and fees. And the application deadline is quickly approaching for the fall 25 semester, and that is April 1st. We do have a spring intake as well for all of our programs, and that will be September 1. But still time to apply for this fall semester, which would start in late August. We do have scholarship opportunities available as well, and typically anywhere from about 1/3 to 40% of our students receive some type of merit funding. And this will be based on a wide variety of factors, looking at undergraduate performance, any work experience, test scores, etc. And we do have graduate hourly positions available as well that pay a really generous salary, typically about $30 an hour for up to 20 hours of work per week. Okay, I know I shared a lot of information quickly, but I know time is approaching, so wanted to open it up to Q&A. And you can also reach out to us at gradbusiness@uic.edu for any specific questions. But to request more information or check out our view book, I have QR codes as well too. And I think we'll open it up to questions in the chat now.
Thank you, Jeff, for the quick overview. I'm now going to take up some questions that have come up in the chat. I believe you have already answered some of the application fee waiver, the funding related questions in your slides. Professor, there are a lot of questions for you. I'm going to take some of them up from your presentation. Somebody wants to know, can RAG effectively replace traditional fine-tuning in domain-specific applications, or do you see limitations in its scalability? Jeff, would you like to stop sharing, or you want to keep the slide?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, RAG and the fine-tuning are different. And can you guys hear me? You can, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So RAG and fine-tuning are different. And I just taught RAG last night in my one of my class. So my experience is so because RAG, you basically need to have the data stored in the do the chunk of the data and then convert that into embeddings and stored in the a vector database, and then do some kind of search to retrieve those embeddings related to your queries or prompt. So the data scope wise is very limited, much smaller compared to a full-scaled fine tuning. But then you get some kind of flexibilities, and you may get more relevant results if your underlying documents that you retrieved are more related to the downstream tasks. But meanwhile, doing the fine tuning is very costly. If you do the traditional fine tuning, that's very costly. Right now, you have the better approaches like LoRa, which can significantly reduce the cost of fine-tuning, but it's still a very long process. And also, when you do the fine-tuning, it's better to have a lot of data that you can fine-tune on. Okay, if you do not use a lot of large-scale data to do the fine-tuning, then your fine-tuning performance actually will be hurt. So personally, I feel like although IG is not fast, IG is not definitely fast, but I feel like it's much more flexible than the traditional fine-tuning.
Great. Thank you, Professor. There is not exactly a follow-up question, but somebody wants to know what a machine learning model is used by ChatGPT. I think you were explaining how ChatGPT functions earlier in your slides. So somebody was curious to know about that.
Yeah. So back in I think 2016, 2017, there was this paper called "Attention is All You Need." That came from Google, which in this paper, it proposed a architecture called the transformer architecture. So the transformer architecture basically has two components. One is called encoder, the other is called decoder. So basically, you can think encoder is some kind of model that can transform the input into some kind of variable, and the decoder basically is trying to unpack this variable into something else. Okay, and so the GPT models is built based on the transformer architecture, but it only takes the decoder part. Okay, so your input to ChatGPT, for example, text becomes the input to the decoder, and the output basically is something else that the model will output. And the decoder itself relies on multiple layers of neural nets. And it also, for example, it involves the so-called self-attention layer, and which captures the kind of relations between the words that's in your prompt. And also it has other layers like feed-forward layers and so on. So it has multiple layers. It's basically, you can think this as a multi-layer neural nets that can convert your input into something else. Let's say more text, from one text to the more text, or more text to just one text, or even images and so
on. Okay, thank you. Jeff, I'm going to take the next question. I'm going to give the next question to you. You took us through the application process and the requirements. Do you have any specific tips you would like to give applicants, that they should keep in mind when they're specifically applying to UIC business? Are you looking for something specific that students keep in mind? Yeah.
That's a great question, and a couple things come to mind. We do, and this is very common with a lot of universities in the U.S., is we take a holistic approach when reviewing applications, and that means that we look at all aspects of your application. And I think the kind of the quickest way to answer it is, someone with a 3.4 GPA may not get into UIC, but someone with a lower GPA did. And we sometimes get that question because applicants will talk with their friends and they don't understand why. And they may have, that person with the lower GPA may have better work experience or have better letters of recommendation or better written essays, and all that's factored into admissions consideration. So follow the application prompts as closely as possible, especially the essay prompts. For resumes, if you have, I would say, less than 5 years of work experience, your resume really should be less than 2 pages. And make sure that you have the strongest application possible. So we really do look at all aspects of that application when we consider admission for someone.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Somebody also wants to know, what is the difference between your business analytics and your data science program?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so business analytics is within the College of Business. So that's going to be one thing. Data, I believe there is a data science within our College of Engineering. So they're within different colleges. Business analytics is going to more look at being able to interpret data and being able to communicate that data to business leadership. So I think that's going to be one of the things that separates our program, is being able to not only analyze the data, but also interpret it as well and share that with management at an organization.
Okay. We are out of time, but if you don't have a hard stop, I can take the last two questions, one for each professor and one for you, Jeff. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Professor, I'll start with you. Somebody wants to know, how is generative AI different from agentic AI?
Okay, so the agents are basically today's agents are like the model, I would say the LLM, the large language model based agents are all based on large language models. Large language models are generative AI, so you can think the agents are kind of a part of the Gen AI revolutions.
Okay. I hope that answers the candidate's question. Jeff, I'm going to ask you this question. Somebody wants to know, how is the campus life at UIC for graduate students?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are right in the heart of Chicago. So behind Professor's his image, that's actually our campus. The tall building in the foreground is where we both work. So we are minutes away from downtown Chicago, where there's a lot of nightlife. We're about 3 kilometers away from the lakefront, where there's great biking and exercising activities. We're also really a lot of students will live in Little Italy and University Village, which is within walking distance. So there's lots of great opportunities. Probably about a kilometer north of us is what's called Fulton Market District. Google has their Chicago headquarters there, and there's a lot of nightlife and great restaurants and companies that have a presence there too. So we're really in an exciting part of the city.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. I know we are out of time and we still have a lot of questions that have not been answered. I would actually request all of you to either email me, or I think Jeff had put his email, gradbusiness@uic.edu. You can write to them if you have any follow-up questions regarding your application. And if you would like to write to Professor Hu, he had also shared his slide and email ID. So with that, I am going to thank Jeff and Professor Hu for a wonderful and insightful session. And thank you everyone for being such a patient audience and an amazing audience. With that, I am going to wrap up this session. Good day to you all, Jeff and Professor Hu, and good night and good evening to everybody who's here in India. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.